The story begins on a rainy day. We see a woman named Sujin, a wedding dress designer, who is creating a beautiful gown while thinking about her beloved only daughter, Sora. Imagining her daughter in that dress brings a soft smile to Sujin's face. Next, we are introduced to little Sora, a 9-year-old girl waiting for her mother after school. She didn't bring an umbrella today, so she calls her mom, asking her to come pick her up. But Sujin is caught in a mess. They've mistakenly sent the wrong dress to a client. Now they must rush to the wedding venue with the real dress. Before heading there, Sujin hurries to pick up her daughter. Seeing her mother, Sora's face lights up with joy, a moment that reminds us all of the warmth of our childhood. On the way, Sujin scolds her gently, saying, "Sora, didn't I tell you it would rain today? Why didn't you bring your umbrella? I just don't understand why you keep going to school without it every time it rains." Sora listens quietly to her mother's scolding. The truth is, her father passed away a long time ago. Sujin has been handling everything on her own ever since, working day and night to raise her daughter and ensure she never lacks anything. But because of this constant hustle, she barely has time to spend with Sora. Eventually, they deliver the wedding dress to the venue, and everything turns out just fine. Afterward, Sujin takes Sora to her dance class. But Sora doesn't go inside. She stands quietly outside. One of her classmates, who used to be her best friend, is in that class too. But after a fight, their friendship has turned bitter. So instead of entering the dance class, Sora walks into another nearby room where karate lessons for kids are held. But that class has no students. The karate instructor, Zoom, is already stressed because no one ever shows up for his class. On top of that, his girlfriend wants to break up with him. So, trying to impress her, he lies and says, "I have lots of students now, the money's rolling in." But eventually, she breaks up with him anyway. And to make matters worse, little Sora says, "Lots of students, huh? Then why is it just you standing here? Not even a single ant in sight." Hearing that, Zoom's heartbreak just deepens even more. From that day on, Sora began spending time in the karate class, chatting with Zoom every day. She never actually attended her dance class, and she kept that a secret from her mother. One day, after getting a phone call from her mom, Sora quietly leaves the class. Together, they arrive at a woman's house, someone who had borrowed a large sum of money from Sujin and then disappeared. Now that Sujin has found her new address, she comes to demand her money back. She even lies down on the floor and refuses to leave until she gets her money. Left with no other choice, the woman finally gives in and returns the amount. Later that day, Sujin takes Sora to an expensive restaurant to enjoy a good meal. She also buys her favorite video games, and the two of them sit down and have a great time playing together. While playing, Sora suddenly says, "Mom, isn't our TV too small and kind of old now?" Hearing that, Sujin immediately orders a brand new, large television, which surprises little Sora. She had never seen her mother act like this before. The next morning, they get ready and head to Sora's uncle's house. The truth is, Sujin isn't very good at cooking, and with her busy work schedule, she barely has any time. So, they come here to eat almost every day. Sujin's brother Lee and his wife Jihai treat them like their own family, always taking care of both mother and daughter with love. When Sujin receives a promotion, she decides to gift her brother a car. She takes him to the market, but when Lee finds out what she's planning, he refuses to accept such an expensive gift. Meanwhile, back at the bridal shop, a young couple arrives looking for a wedding dress. Sujin's boss, Lena, shows them several options, but none of them feel right. Then, the bride notices one of Sujin's design sketches lying on the table, and she immediately falls in love with it. She insists on ordering that one. At that moment, Sujin walks in and says, "I'm sorry, but that dress isn't available. It's already been reserved by another customer." She politely apologizes and walks away. Lena becomes furious and demands to know why Sujin refused the client. That's when Sujin confesses. She designed that dress for her daughter, Sora, and she's not willing to sell it to anyone. But Lena misunderstands. She suspects Sujin is secretly planning to sell the design elsewhere for personal profit, because who in their right mind would make a wedding dress for a little child? That night, Sujin tells her daughter that the next morning, the two of them will go watch a movie together and have lots of fun. But Sora replies, "I don't want to watch a movie. I want to go on a picnic." So, despite not being good at cooking, Sujin stays up late that night preparing food with great effort just to make her daughter happy. But the next morning, it starts to rain, ruining all their plans. Sora becomes sad, thinking the picnic is now impossible. To cheer her up, Sujin suggests going to the seaside instead, hoping it won't be raining there. Mother and daughter get ready and set off toward the beach. When they arrive, they find the weather is actually clear. They ride a motorbike along the shore, laughing and enjoying the moment. For the first time in a long while, Sora feels truly happy to spend such quality time with her mother. After eating together, they take lots of pictures. Seeing her daughter smile fills Sujin's heart with peace. In truth, she had been so busy earning a living that she rarely had the chance to spend time with her. In the next scene, we see Sujin's sister Minsu and their sister-in-law, Jihai, waiting for Sujin and Sora to return. Through their conversation, we learn that Minsu never really liked Sujin, mainly because Sujin married someone without the family's approval. On top of that, Sora's father wasn't financially well off. Minsu believes Sujin is the reason the family always ends up in trouble, and she tries to fill Jihai's ears with negativity. But Jihai truly loves Sujin, like her own younger sister, and tells Minsu to stop speaking that way. When Sujin and Sora finally arrive, they all sit down to eat together. Suddenly, Sujin's vision starts to blur, and she collapses in pain. They rush her to the hospital, and that's when her brother Lee learns the devastating truth. Sujin has stomach cancer, and it's already at the final stage. She had kept it a secret from everyone all this time. The reason? Treatment would have cost a fortune. And thinking about her daughter's future, Sujin had decided not to seek treatment. On the way back home, Sujin apologizes to her family for not telling them sooner. She didn't want to cause more trouble or worry for anyone. Hearing this, Lee suddenly stops the car, gets out, and breaks down in tears on the roadside. The pain of not being able to save his sister overwhelms him, because now, no matter what they do, it's too late to save her. The next morning, while Sora is eating her lunch at school, her former best friend Gina walks up to her and offers the rest of her juice. Sora becomes furious and pours the juice over Gina's food. Another big fight breaks out between the two girls. Meanwhile, Sujin tries to tell her boss about her illness, but can't bring herself to say it. Instead, she just requests a few days off. At that moment, the school principal calls and asks Sujin to come in. At school, the principal tells her that Sora and Gina used to be best friends, until one day Gina took a sip from Sora's water bottle. Sora, suffering from OCD, was disgusted and insulted Gina in front of everyone. Since then, their friendship broke apart, and the other kids also started avoiding Sora. Hearing this, Sujin becomes deeply worried. Later that day, when Sora returns home from school, she hears her mother vomiting in the bathroom. When Sujin comes out, Sora asks, "Mom, are you okay?" Sujin forces a smile and says, "It's nothing. I just ate too much at lunch." That night, Sujin gently tries to convince Sora to share food and bond with her friends. But Sora replies, "I just can't. It makes me feel sick." Trying to lighten the mood, Sujin jokes, "Then when you grow up and fall in love, will you never kiss the person you love?" Sora blushes and says, "I just want to stay with you. I don't need anyone else." Hearing this, Sujin gets upset and says, "I won't be with you forever, Sora. What will you do when I die someday?" Sora snaps back, "Don't worry about that. I already do everything on my own. You never have time for me. Aunt Jihai cares more about me than you do." Those words break Sujin's heart. She quietly leaves the room and goes into her own. Time is running out for her, but she can't bring herself to tell Sora the truth. Moments later, she comes back out with a smile, as if nothing's wrong. Sora, now regretful, "Mom, I'm sorry. I want you to stay with me forever. I have no one else but you." Sujin hugs her tightly, tears pouring down her face. She feels deeply guilty for not spending more time with her daughter all these years. The next day, Sujin decides to take the day off and surprise Sora. She goes to her dance class to pick her up, only to find out that Sora never actually attended the class. That night, Sujin gently asks her daughter why she never went to dance class. Sora replies, "Because Gina is there. I don't like being in the same class with her." Sujin explains softly, "Sora, all of us face problems in life, but we can't always run away from them. You must learn to face your problems and find your own solutions. So, Sujin encourages Sora to invite Gina and the rest of her classmates to her upcoming birthday party. Following her mother's advice, Sora prepares a few invitation cards and takes them to school, but when she sees Gina, she hesitates, and in the end, doesn't hand out the cards. Back home, Sujin decorates everything for the celebration and waits excitedly for Sora's friends to arrive, but Sora quietly tells her, "No one's coming. I didn't tell anyone." Without missing a beat, Sujin smiles and says, "Then let's celebrate, just the two of us." They cut the cake, laugh, and enjoy their little celebration. Sujin did everything she could to make this birthday special, because deep down, she knows she might not be here for the next one. The thought brings tears to her eyes. That night, she takes Sora outside to finally teach her how to ride a bicycle, something she had always wanted to do, but never had time for. As she runs behind Sora, helping her balance, she begins to feel intense pain in her stomach, but she keeps quiet and endures it. After many tries, Sora finally learns to ride on her own, but when she turns around, she sees her mother sitting far behind, clearly in pain. Sora's joy fades instantly. Later that night, Sora secretly sees her mother taking a handful of medicines. At that moment, she begins to understand. Her mother is seriously ill. The next morning, Sujin visits her doctor. After checking her condition, the doctor says she doesn't have much time left. He advises her to get admitted to the hospital immediately. Meanwhile, Sora returns home with her aunt and asks, "Auntie, does Mom have a serious illness? She vomits every day and takes so many pills." Her aunt struggles to find an answer, but Sora says quietly, "I already understand. Mom doesn't have much time left, does she?" Even in silence, the truth becomes clear. Sora then makes one request. "Please don't tell her I know. If she finds out, it will only make her more sad." The next morning, Sora gets ready for school, all by herself. She brushes her hair alone while her mother vomits again in the bathroom. Pretending not to hear anything, she simply smiles and says goodbye. She walks out the door, trying to be strong, for her mother's sake, but as soon as she steps outside, her little eyes well up with tears. At school, she can't focus. She keeps thinking about her mother the entire time. It begins to rain again. But this time, she doesn't call her mom to come pick her up. She's about to walk home in the rain when suddenly, her mother appears with an umbrella. Seeing her, Sora's face lights up with happiness. They arrive at their shop, where Sujin begins preparing the wedding dress, this time for Sora. She curiously asks, "Mom, you got married too, right? Then why didn't you wear a dress like this?" Sujin smiles sadly and says, "Because your father didn't have enough money back then." Sora says with excitement, "Then wear one now, just for me." To fulfill her daughter's wish, Sujin puts on a wedding dress. She steps out, looking like a beautiful bride. Sora stares at her in awe and thinks to herself, "I never realized how beautiful my mom really is." They hold hands and begin dancing together, twirling softly in the light. At that moment, Sujin's brother arrives, intending to visit. But when he sees the mother and daughter sharing this precious moment, he quietly stops outside, unable to interrupt such a beautiful scene. The next morning, Sora decides to skip school. She wants to spend the whole day with her mother. While lying next to her, she falls asleep and dreams of playing with her mom on the beach. But suddenly, in the dream, her mom disappears. Panicked, Sora starts calling out for her. She wakes up with a jolt and, frightened, gently puts a finger under her mother's nose to check if she's still breathing. Once she feels her breath, she sighs in relief. Then she sits down to write a letter to her mother, planning to send it to the radio. For this, she asks for help from her karate teacher, Zoom. Meanwhile, Sujin, realizing she can't work anymore, tells her boss Lena to find someone to replace her. But Lena assumes she's leaving for a higher-paying job and angrily scolds her. Finally, Sujin tells her, "I'm going to join Sora's father, a place no one ever returns from." Those words leave Lena stunned. Only then does she understand why Sujin was making a wedding dress for her daughter. Fighting back tears, Lena storms out, pretending to be angry to hide her pain. As Sujin's condition worsens, they move into her brother's house so everyone can help take care of Sora. Lena, now understanding the truth, begins finishing Sora's dress herself. Time is running out, and every second matters. Despite her failing health, Sujin carefully starts attaching beautiful, expensive stones and pearls to the dress, wanting it to be perfect for her daughter. The next morning, Sujin's older sister, Minsu, comes to visit. She tells Sujin that her husband's business is failing, and they're planning to move to Canada. Since Sujin won't survive much longer, Minsu proposes to take Sora with them. She also asks Sujin to hand over the insurance money so they can afford to send Sora to a good school abroad. Hearing this from her own sister, Sujin is heartbroken. Tears well up in her eyes. That night, Sujin tells her sister-in-law, Jihai, everything Minsu had said. She reveals the cruel truth. Minsu doesn't really want Sora out of love or responsibility. She wants her for the money. Enraged, Jihai storms over to Minsu's house and slaps her across the face. "How could you even say such a thing?" she yells. "She's a dying mother who gave up her own treatment for the future of her child. And you want her insurance money?" With tears in her eyes, Jihai walks out. And for the first time, Minsu realizes the gravity of her selfishness. Later that night, during dinner, Sora's cousin playfully dips his spoon into her food. This triggers Sora, and she refuses to eat, disgusted by the thought. Sujin, frustrated, takes her to their room. She says, "Sora, your uncle and aunt are doing so much for us. Why are you making things harder for them?" Sora bursts into tears and says, "Mom, I have no one else but you, and now even you want to leave me. Please, Mom, don't go. I'll miss you so much." Hearing her daughter's desperate plea, Sujin is left speechless. Tears stream down her face as the reality sinks in. She has no choice but to leave her little girl behind, and the pain of that truth is unbearable. That night, Sujin's condition worsens drastically. As she lies in bed, she softly asks Sora to sing her a lullaby. Sora begins singing gently to help her mother sleep, but after a while, she notices that her mother is no longer responding. Worried, Sora quickly gets up and sees that her mother has fallen unconscious in pain. Panic-stricken, she calls out for help. Hearing the commotion, her uncle and aunt rush in. Together, they hurriedly take Sujin to the hospital. As Sujin is taken into the ICU, Sora sits quietly outside, lost in thought. She remembers the 2 wishes her mother once told her, that Sora would one day enjoy life and laugh with her friends again, and that she would one day see her daughter dance on stage. Determined to fulfill both wishes, Sora begins practicing dance again. This time, with renewed dedication, she works day and night, pushing through exhaustion, driven by love and hope. She then finds the courage to approach Gina and sincerely apologizes for her past behavior. To everyone's surprise, even her own, Sora takes a sip from Gina's juice, setting aside her OCD-driven disgust. Their friendship rekindles. Later, Sora brings her friends to the hospital to visit her mother. Sujin's face lights up with joy upon seeing all of them. The next day, Lena visits Sujin and brings photos of the wedding dress she finished for Sora. As Sujin looks at them, her vision suddenly becomes blurry. Doctors examine her and reveal devastating news. The cancer has spread to her brain, and that's why she's losing her eyesight. Later that evening, Sujin's older sister, Minsu, comes to visit her again. This time, she apologizes for everything. Sujin quietly forgives her. Finally, the long-awaited day of the dance recital arrives. Lena lovingly helps dress Sora for her performance and places a large blue flower on her outfit, so that Sujin can easily recognize her from the stage. As the performance begins, little Sora dances with joy, momentarily forgetting all her sadness. She knows she is fulfilling her mother's second and final wish. From the audience, Sujin watches her daughter with fading eyesight. She manages to recognize Sora by the bright blue flower. Overwhelmed with joy and sorrow, she watches her daughter fulfill her last wish. No words could ever describe what she felt in that moment. That night, Sora cuddles beside her mother as they listen to the radio together. She had written a letter to be read out loud on air, but exhaustion from the day's efforts causes Sora to fall asleep in her mother's arms. Then, over the radio, her letter is read out loud. Mom, I'm so happy that I was born as your daughter. Even though you couldn't cook well and didn't have much time to play with me, I said so many things that hurt you. I'm sorry, Mom. I promise I won't fight with you anymore. Please don't leave me behind. I love you so much. Your Sora. Hearing the words from her daughter's letter, Sujin's eyes fill with tears. She gently kisses Sora on the forehead and hugs her tightly. And just like that, holding her beloved daughter in her arms, Sujin slowly falls asleep. The next morning, Sora wakes up and softly calls out to her mom, but this time, her mother doesn't respond. Sora gently shakes her, but Sujin remains still. And then, a heartbreaking truth dawns on her. Her mother has left, forever. She's now gone to be with her father. Still, Sora quietly gets off the bed and begins watering the plants like she does every morning. Even though she knows her mother is no longer alive, she tries to convince herself otherwise. Mom, you must be really tired, she whispers. So just sleep a little longer, okay? Then she steps outside and stands silently. Moments later, the doctors arrive for a checkup. But as they try to enter the room, Sora stops them. She says, "My mom is sleeping. She's really tired. Please don't wake her." The doctors exchange heavy glances. They know. They gently push the door open and step inside. Sora screams, "My mom isn't dead. She's alive. Don't take her away." Just then, her uncle and aunt arrive. Aunt Jihai wraps Sora in her arms and breaks down in tears. And the scene. It was nothing short of soul-crushing. The scene shifts. Once again, we see a rainy day. Sora steps out of school and looks up at the sky with a soft smile. She remembers how many times she annoyed her mom by not bringing an umbrella on rainy days. But this time, she hasn't forgotten. She takes out an umbrella from her bag and walks home with a warm, gentle smile on her face. Years pass. Sora has grown up, and today is a very special day in her life, her wedding day. She puts on the very dress her mother made for her, the one stitched with love, dreams, and blessings. Her mother may not be by her side anymore, but her boundless love will stay with Sora forever. And with this heart-touching moment, this beautiful story comes to an end. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.